Most anglers are always looking for the next upgrade. New lures, new colors, new materials. Every season promises something smarter, faster, more realistic. And yet, some of the most consistent fishing success today still comes from a method that doesn't look modern at all. In fact, most anglers don't even recognize it anymore. Long before tackle shops were packed with walls of plastic lures and bottled scents, fishing worked very differently. There were no brand names to trust, no instructions on the package. If something worked, it spread quietly. If it didn't, it disappeared. The methods that survived did so for one reason only. Fish responded to them. One of those methods is still around, still simple, still cheap, and still outperforming modern lures in situations where nothing else seems to work. The only problem is that most anglers stopped using it. The reason isn't that it failed, it's that it was replaced. The story usually starts the same way. An experienced angler shows up with basic gear. Nothing flashy, no oversized tackle box. While others cycle through lure after lure, he sticks to one setup. One preparation, one quiet habit, done before the cast. And somehow, he keeps getting bites, while everyone else struggles. From the outside, it doesn't make sense. The water is pressured. Fish have seen every lure shape imaginable. Bright colors don't trigger reactions anymore. Movement alone doesn't fool them. And yet, fish keep finding this one bait and committing to it. The difference isn't what the bait looks like, it's how the bait announces itself underwater. In simple, side-by-side tests, the pattern shows up clearly. Two anglers fishing the same area, same bait type, same timing. One follows the modern approach, relying on presentation and realism. The other uses an older method most people no longer think about. The result isn't subtle. Fish approach the modern lure cautiously. They trail it. They inspect it. Some turn away. Meanwhile, the bait prepared using the old method gets faster responses, direct movement, stronger strikes, less hesitation. Not because it looks better, because it sends a stronger signal. What most anglers forgot is that fish don't experience the underwater world the way we imagine it. Vision is limited. Water distorts shape and motion. But chemical signals travel cleanly and far. Long before a fish sees a lure, it senses what's dissolving into the water around it. The old method was built around that reality. Instead of trying to trick fish visually, it worked by activating feeding behavior directly. It didn't rely on imitation. It relied on recognition. The bait stopped being something that looked like food and became something that felt like food. That's why it still works. Modern lures are designed to survive shelves, shipping, and storage. They're stable, predictable, convenient. The old method isn't. It changes over time. It reacts. It releases scent gradually. It doesn't behave well in packaging, which is exactly why it faded from mainstream use. But fish never forgot it. When anglers abandoned the method, the advantage didn't disappear. It simply became less common. And in pressured waters, uncommon often means effective. The anglers who still use it don't advertise it. Not because it's secret, but because it doesn't fit the modern conversation. It sounds outdated, messy, too simple to compete with technology. Until the results show up. That's when questions start. Why are fish committing faster? Why do strikes feel more decisive? Why does this bait outperform lures that cost 10 times more? The answer isn't nostalgia, it's biology. The old fishing method most anglers forgot wasn't built around gear. It was built around understanding how fish decide to eat. Long before modern lures tried to imitate shape, flash, and movement, this method focused on one thing that mattered more than anything else underwater: signal. Fish don't analyze baits the way humans analyze tools. They don't compare realism. They don't admire color patterns. In water, their first and strongest sense is chemical. Before a fish ever sees a lure, it senses what's leaking into the water around it. The forgotten method worked by activating that sense directly. Instead of relying on appearance, it relied on preparation. Simple bait treated in a way that released natural feeding compounds slowly and consistently, not dumped into the water all at once, but allowed to spread, linger, and guide fish toward the source. That's why strikes felt different. Fish didn't follow from a distance. They didn't test the bait with light nips. They moved in with intent, because the signal they were receiving didn't suggest curiosity. It suggested opportunity. This method usually involved natural ingredients allowed to rest briefly before use. Not long enough to rot, just long enough to change. That small change made all the difference. Mild breakdown released amino acids and sulfur-based compounds that fish associate with injured prey or exposed food. To a fish, those signals mean one thing: feed now. Modern lures rarely replicate this effect, not because designers don't understand it, but because it's hard to control. Live, changing mixtures don't behave predictably in storage. They don't last months on shelves. They can't be mass-produced without losing the very quality that makes them effective. So, modern tackle went visual. Bright colors, precise movement, detailed finishes, all useful tools, but incomplete on their own. Without a strong chemical signal, fish often hesitate. In pressured water, hesitation is the difference between a bite and a refusal. The old method filled that gap. When anglers moved away from it, they didn't replace it with something better. They replaced it with something more convenient. And over time, convenience became tradition. But the fish never adapted to packaging trends. When this method is used today, especially in waters where fish have seen every lure imaginable, the results stand out. Not because it's flashy, but because it's unfamiliar. Fish encounter something that feels real in a way they rarely experience anymore. That unfamiliarity creates advantage. Using the method responsibly is simple. It doesn't require abandoning modern gear. In fact, it works best when paired with it. A familiar bait, activated with an old preparation method, combines the best of both worlds. Visual comfort with chemical urgency. The key is restraint. The old anglers understood this well. Too much signal overwhelms the water. Too little goes unnoticed. The sweet spot is subtle. One light application, one decision made before the cast. That's why this method was often practiced quietly. It rewarded patience and observation. It wasn't something you rushed or advertised. You tested, you adjusted, you watched how fish reacted. And when it worked consistently. This is also why many anglers who rediscover it feel like they unlocked something hidden. Not because it's secret, but because it fell out of common use. In a world chasing innovation, the old solution was left behind. The real lesson isn't that modern lures are bad. It's that they're incomplete without understanding fish biology. Tools matter, presentation matters, but signals matter more. Fishing success doesn't come from forgetting the past. It comes from remembering what actually worked and understanding why. The old fishing method most anglers forgot never stopped working. It was simply ignored. And for those willing to bring it back, the advantage isn't nostalgia, it's results.